What's up, guys? John Kuiper here, still running for governor of New Hampshire. And I am here with my friend Brandon Lemay, who's going to introduce himself and talk a little bit about his work with housing in Manchester and in New Hampshire. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Thanks for having me here today. So my name is Brandon Lemay. I'm a housing organizer based out of Manchester, New Hampshire, where I was born and raised. I really got involved around housing organizing in 2020. This was around the time that New Hampshire had its biggest homeless encampment in the state, right on the courthouse lawn in Manchester. And there were about 5 shelter beds available in the entire state of New Hampshire at the time, and there were more than 45 people at that encampment. And it was about then that I saw this struggle between Joyce Craig and Governor Sununu, because there was a bit of what I would call kicking the can, I would say, back and forth at each other. I would talk to the Craig administration. She would say, well, there's nothing we can do. This is a state eviction. We talk to the state. They'd say, well, the city needs to be doing more. And that's when I realized that this housing crisis, and particularly the homelessness crisis, has become this political battle for politicians rather than giving what we actually need, which is housing first.
And how many people do you think roughly were in that housing encampment?
Yeah, so I'd say definitely like 45 to 55
Wow.
at its height, and these things are hard to kind of track,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, that was kind of our best guess.
And what was it like for the people there? And when a homeless encampment was pushed, or evicted, where did those people end up going?
Yeah, so well, if I can go a little bit more here, there were a bunch of nonprofits that were contracted to take in, particularly people in recovery. One of those was a contract by the now, in my opinion, disgraced Eric Spofford. I don't know if you remember that, but yeah, he was known for allegedly abusing his employees and also the patients that were going to his facilities. So basically, there were just a bunch of state government contracts that were paying for beds that were not being used. And I think the state thought that people were going there. There's a really good article about it in the Ink Link that followed a couple from that encampment and even did a follow-up a couple years afterwards. And those people are back out on the streets by and large. Or whenever you clear any encampment, whether it's in Manchester or here in Newmarket or Concord, people just go to a different neighborhood. As I was telling you earlier, I would go door to door in these neighborhoods with encampments. And a common story would be, yeah, we didn't really have this encampment here until I heard about a previous encampment being cleared. So the problem is just getting swept around from neighborhood to neighborhood. And the justification used to clear out these encampments, which is, well, it's not fair to the people in this neighborhood. I ask, is it fair to the people in the next neighborhood that this homeless encampment is going next to? And is it fair to the people in the homeless encampment? We're not even considering that.
Yeah. Do you think Joyce Craig's work to solve the homelessness problem in Manchester was adequate, or do you think that there's more she should have done or could have done? Obviously, she had limited resources.
Mm-hmm.
Sununu's not helping. Were there any things that were suggested to her that she didn't want to do, or anything like that could have been done differently, I guess?
Yeah, and I think actually this is where I think you really contrast with Joyce Craig, is that there's really no political imagination. There's no creativity. There's no way of thinking, what creative solutions can we get out of this? And I found that, she wanted to blame the state government, which, partially is correct, but I don't think that's enough to, do as little as she's done. I would say that her policy towards homelessness has been a police-first approach. I support a housing-first approach, so do you, John, that says that, we can't, address the things that cause homelessness in the first place until we can actually get you into housing. Like, we can't get you the mental health treatment that you need. We can't get you the substance use, therapy that you need. or many other things. And a lot of these people too also just have health problems as well.
Yeah,
that
sleeping outside, I imagine that's exacerbated.
Oh yeah. About half of all newly homeless people in New Hampshire have a disability.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. It's a huge concern, and I'm forgetting what percentage of that, but a large majority of those are elderly people.
Wow.
People that were on fixed incomes and had their rent raised, or they couldn't pay their heating bill or their property taxes or something like that. But to your original question, I just think that Joyce Craig really wanted to rely on private landlords and the private market to fix the housing crisis. And I'm here to tell you that we're going to need some significant public investment in public and what I call social housing, which is like cooperative housing is a huge model that we support here. But yeah, I think that she just relied too much on the police, and she wasn't holding the nonprofits accountable, in my opinion. The nonprofits around homelessness, in my opinion, are wholly inadequate to deal with the problem. They do great work. They have some great individuals working in them for sure, but they're not coordinating enough. They're not communicating with government agencies. And I have to say, with our new Republican mayor, actually, I think he's doing a better job of coordinating with the nonprofits and even the state than Joyce Craig did.
Wow.
I mean, and I don't praise Republicans that often, but I gotta call a spade a spade,
That's fair. How do you feel about the Department of Housing Stability that you created? That seems like that was at least one good thing that Joyce Craig did.
Yeah, and to her,
just to give her credit.
No. We're gonna be honest here on the Kuiper campaign. That's what I appreciate about you and about us here. But yeah, I would say that was a really good move. There was some great work being done, particularly around grant writing. The city secured a lot of funds through the ARP. I forget what the ARP even stands for now. ARPA Act?
COVID money.
COVID money, as people like to call it. And part of that COVID money actually was used to hire and form this department.
Yeah.
So I would say that, that was probably one of the better moves that were done. And I would like to see something done on a similar level statewide. I think that we need to be adding a similar position. Actually, a huge concern was actually that Governor Sununu might tap one of our previous directors for the state. But that never quite panned out. But I would have loved to have seen Sununu roll out like a department of homeless initiatives for the state.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think? I wonder if the funding for Manchester's Department of Housing and Security, I wonder if that is drying up with the COVID money, or if they've just put it into the city. But they must just put it into the city budget.
Yeah, I gotta dive deep into the budget. But when I was looking at Mayor Rouet, I'm still struggling to think if it's Rouet or Ruiz. The Frenchman in me wants to say Rouet. But looking at his budget, actually, he preserved that in there because even this Republican mayor, and again, it's actually a split Republican Dem majority in Manchester right now, with the mayor being a tiebreaker, and even they see this as an investment to save us money in the future.
Yeah.
Because it costs more to police homelessness. It costs more to give aid to someone who is unhoused than it is to actually just keep somebody in their housing.
Yeah.
Or get them back into housing.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
VoteKuiper.org.
Vote Kuiper.